supposed to be doing Daf Lamed Vav Amud Aleph. We're on Lamed He Amud Bet, where it says Meiteve. It's the last word on the line, Meiteve. So we were in the middle of it's probably like 10, 12 lines from the bottom, last word on the line. So we're in the middle of a machloket Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan. The machloket is Reish Lakish holds that if a person, will start with Rabbi Yochanan, because the Gemara starts with Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan holds that if a person does chalitza to a me'uberet, to a pregnant lady, it works. It's a good chalitza. And biyat me'uberet shma biyan. If he does biyah, he does yibum to a pregnant lady, it's also good. He doesn't need to redo anything after she loses the baby. As long as it turns out that the baby...
they know she's pregnant.
Yeah, as long as it turns out that the baby doesn't make it, it's good. Reish Lakish holds, no, it's no good. They need to redo it afterwards. So, Meiteve. Now, the Gemara asks a question against Rabbi Yochanan. HaKoneset Yevim Tov Nimtzat Me'uberet. So, somebody, he was together with his Yevamot, and it turns out that she was pregnant. So, he did Yibum, and it turns out that she was pregnant. So, Harei Zuloti Naset Sarata. So, the other wife cannot get married. So, the case is like this. Reuven had two wives, and Reuven died. Shimon, his brother, did Yibum to one wife, and they find out that she's pregnant. So we say that Sarah, the other wife, cannot get married to anybody. So why? So says the Braita, Harezu loti naset sarata, Shema yehev vlad ben kayama, because maybe her child is going to be a living child. Now the Gemara says, 1 second, Adraba. Ki have Havlad ben Kayama, if that child is going to be a living child, so mifter at sarata. If that's the case, then there's not going to be any necessity for yibum. So why shouldn't she get married? What's the problem? Why? Meaning we're saying that if the rule is that if the husband has any children from any one of his wives, there's no yibum at all whatsoever. So now he died, he left one wife pregnant. Okay, somebody did yibum to that lady, and she's pregnant. So we're asking what's the deal with the other wife. So we say the other wife, she cannot get married. The way the Braita says it is she cannot get married. Why? Because maybe the child is going to be living. So the Gemara says, what do you mean maybe? If the child is going to be living, then that's a reason for her to be able to get married. Because if the child is a living child, that tells us that she's piturah from yibum the entire time. So Ella, Ema, rather you have to say that the Braita means Shema lo yehe avlad ben kayama. Maybe the Braita means maybe the child is not going to live, and this lady, the Tzara, is still going to require yibum, and that shows that the yibum that was done to the pregnant lady didn't do anything. It wasn't poter the Tzara. It didn't help. So visal katatach biat meuberet shema biyah. If you hold that yibum done to a pregnant lady is considered a valid yibum as long as the baby doesn't make it, so amay lo tinaset tzarata. Why shouldn't the co-wife, the tzara, be able to get married? Let her get married, because miman afshach. If the baby makes it, so then she's good. There's no need for yibum chalitza. If the baby doesn't make it, well, that yibum that was done to the first wife was a good yibum. So the tzara should be able to get married either way if you say that yibum that's done to the first wife while she's pregnant is a valid yibum. Right? If you say it's a good yibum, then the tzara is piturah. So tipa teruya shel chaverta, she should be covered, she should become piturah through the biyah of her friend. So this is a question against Rabbi Yochanan. Reish Lakish holds that the yibum done to a pregnant lady is no good, and that'll make sense why the tzara has to wait, because that yibum that was done to this family is not good because it was done to a lady who's pregnant. So the co-wife cannot get married until she gets a yibum or chalitza, or unless we see that the baby is alive. But in the event that the baby may not make it, she has to get yibum or chalitza.
If the miracle happened and the baby became alive.
If the baby makes it, then they're good. But we're worried that the baby's not going to make it.
Whose baby is it?
The woman, the first wife who got yibum.
The first husband.
the first. Well, yeah, it's the first husband's. The wife number one is pregnant. They find out that she's pregnant from the first husband. We don't know if the baby's gonna make it or not, but the Gemara is saying that we're worried maybe the baby is not going to make it. Therefore, the tzara cannot get married. So this is a question against Rabbi Yochanan. So Amar Abaye. Abaye changes the machloket a little bit. He changes a detail in the machloket. Amar Abaye, bebiya kule alma lo pligi de lo patra. Everybody agrees by bia that bia done to a pregnant lady means nothing. Yibum done to a pregnant lady means nothing. Ki pligi b'chalitza. The machloket between Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan, Abaye is suggesting it's only by chalitza. Rabbi Yochanan tzaveh chalitzat meuberet shma chalitza biad meuberet lo shma bia. Rabbi Yochanan holds if you do chalitza to a pregnant lady, that's good. But yibum to a pregnant lady, no good. Reish Lakish tzavar biad meuberet lo shma bia v'chalitzat meuberet lo shma chalitza. Reish Lakish holds no, none of them are good. Bia to a pregnant lady for yibum is not good, and chalitza to a pregnant lady is also not good. So we're limiting the machloket Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan. Abaye is saying they both agree by yibum. Yibum to a pregnant lady is no good. The machloket is by chalitza. Chalitza to a pregnant lady. Is that okay or not okay? So that's the machloket. So this is what Abaye was suggesting. So Rava doesn't like this. Amar le Rava, who very often argues with Abaye, Rava says that Amar le Rava manafshach. Either way you cut it, what you're saying doesn't make sense. If you hold that the yibum on a pregnant lady is good, so then chalitzat meuberet shma chalitza. You have to say the same thing by chalitza. Vi biad meuberet lo shma bia, chalitzat meuberet nami lo shma chalitza. And if you say that bia is no good, then the chalitza also should be no good, because these two things yibum and chalitza come hand in hand. The hakai malan, the chol haoleh liyibum oleh lechalitza, v'chol she'en oleh liyibum, chol she'en oleh liyibum, eno oleh lechalitza. That anyone who you could do yibum on, you could do chalitza on. Anyone who you cannot do yibum on, you cannot do chalitza on. Meaning these two things go hand in hand. So you can't separate the two and say, oh well, if she's pregnant, then she's valid for chalitza, not for yibum. What do you mean? We have a rule. Anyone who's valid for yibum is valid for chalitza. Anyone who's valid for chalitza is valid for yibum. So therefore, Rava argues with this. And Rava explains a little bit differently. Rava explains why that braita of the co-wife having to wait when the first wife is pregnant, why that's not a question on Rabbi Yochanan. So Ela Amar Rava Hachi Kamar. This is what the braita is saying. Right? Just to recap, the case was Reuven married wife number 1 and wife number 2. Reuven died, and Shimon did yibum to wife number 1. Turns out she was pregnant. So we say, oh, wife number 2, you cannot marry anybody. You have to wait. Why? Because it sounds like, because maybe this baby is not going to make it, and if the baby doesn't make it, then you would still require yibum or chalitza. Now, why would she still require yibum or chalitza? It must be that the yibum done to the pregnant lady didn't count.
So you could do another yibum.
Yeah, but I'm saying she still has to wait. Why would she have to wait? The only reason she would have to wait is because the yibum done to the pregnant lady doesn't count. If the yibum done to the pregnant lady counts, then she shouldn't have to wait. Because if the child doesn't make it, then the yibum counted from there. And if the child makes it, so then she's pitura. So she shouldn't have to wait.
He made the yibum for this.
That was a question against Rabbi Yochanan.
Yeah, he made the yibum to the lady. And the lady, they don't know if she's pregnant or not.
She is pregnant.
She's pregnant.
We don't know if the baby's going to make it.
Baby, for example, baby is not going to make it. So what's the difference? If the baby doesn't make it, that means
that
the yibum is cancelled?
That's a machloket Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan. Reish Lakish says that, there is no yibum to a pregnant lady means nothing. Rabbi Yochanan says no, the yibum is a good yibum. As long as the baby doesn't make it, that's an acceptable yibum.
What's happened? Right. Last night?
That's the machloket Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan. So let's see how Rava. So let's see how Rava answers it. So Ela amar Rava hachikamar. Rava says this is what the Braita is saying. Hakones yevim tov v'nimtzad meuberet harezo lo tinaset tzarata. So that case, somebody marries, he does yibum to the first wife of his brother, and it turns out that she was really pregnant all along. So the second wife, the tzara, cannot get married. Why? Shema yehevlad ben kayama. Maybe the child is going to be a living child. And if the child is living, everyone agrees that yibum meant nothing, because you did yibum to a lady who ends up having a living child. Everyone agrees in that case, yibum and chalitza done to the pregnant lady whose child survives, that everyone agrees is nothing. But so how is this lady becoming free? Because we're worried the baby is going to make it. And if the baby is going to make it, then she's going to be pitura, but a child only is poter from yibum and chalitza when he enters the world, not when the child is still in utero, when the lady is still pregnant. So even though the child ends up making it, but we have to actually wait for the child to come out in order for the pitura of yibum to happen. In order for us to say there's no yibum here, no chalitza here, we have to wait for the child to come out. So that's why the tzara, the second wife, has to wait. She has to wait because we have to see if this child might make it, and if the child makes it, then she's going to be free from yibum chalitza. But we have to wait for the child to actually make it in order for the tour to take effect.
No, I got it.
And that's not going to be against Rabbi Yochanan. So Tanya kavatei de Rava. So we have a machloket Abaye and Rava. Really, what the machloket Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan is. Either way, Tanya kavatei de Rava. So the following Braita goes like Rava. Hakones yevim tov v'nimtzad meuberet harizu lo tinaset tzarata. So somebody does yibum to his yevama, okay, and finds out that she's pregnant. So the tzara, the second wife, cannot get married. Shema yehevlad ben kayama, because maybe the pregnant lady, her child is gonna be a living child, and that will take us out of the necessity for yibum or chalitza. Ve'en bia v'chalitza poteret ela vlad poter. And in this case, where a child ends up making it, the petur for yibum is the child.
The bia is not allowed?
Yes, she's an erva. If the child ends up making it, that means that this whole time there was no heter of yibum, and she remains an erva. She's
if the child is alive.
Mm-hmm.
That means the child belongs to the father.
They would have to bring a korban chata.
There's no yibum to begin with.
Right. So they would have to bring a korban chata. He did b'shogeg. He was with a karet. He did. So el vlad poter vlad ein potera ad sheyetzeh la'avir.
Yes, like you said, you could do that, yeah.
No, Rabbi Yochanan says that if the child doesn't make it, then it turns out that this whole time there was a chiyuv of yibum, and that yibum that was done while she was pregnant was good.
If the child makes it,
then everyone agrees that it's
everyone agree with that
yeah.
one. Even was it suspect at the beginning?
Yeah, you can't. Everyone agrees you can't do it lechatchila. The question is, the guy did it, so and then she lost the child. So is that good? He did the visu yibum.
She had the child.
Oh, so in that case, everyone agrees that that's what's it called? That he was he has to bring a korban chatat. He was with a karet, the karet d'shogi. Okay. So this Braita is very much like Rava, because it says that the whole reason that she's pitura is because we're worried that the child is going to make it, and if the child makes it, the child will be the poter from yibum, and he's not poter from yibum until he comes into the world. Ta'ama deshema yehevlad ben kayama, halav halo havevlad ben kayama miftar tzarata. Now the Gemara is going to turn it around against Reish Lakish, because it sounds like what's the whole reason? Excuse me. What's the whole reason that there's a patur from yibum? Because we're worried that the child is going to be a living child. Mashma, that it seems to indicate that if the child is not going to be a living child, if the child doesn't end up making it, then the yibum that was done was good. Right? Because what's the whole reason that she has to wait, that Sarah has to wait? Well, we have to find out. Maybe the child is going to be living, and if the child is going to be living, you're going to need a new yibum. I'm sorry, then the child is going to be pater you once it comes out. Mashma, that if we know that the child isn't going to be living somehow, that bia that was done, if the child isn't living, that bia that was done during the time of pregnancy wouldn't be enough to pater her. So lema tiavet tiufta de Reish Lakish. Let's maybe turn this around now and ask it on Reish Lakish. So the Gemara says, Amar Alcha Reish Lakish, hachi katani. Reish Lakish will tell you, no, this is how you learn it. Hakones yevim tov v'nimtzet meuberet, harizu lo tinaset sarata. If he does yibum to the lady and it turns out that she's pregnant, so the tzara, the other wife, cannot get married. Shema lo yehe havlad ben kayama. Maybe the child will not make it, and like what we suggested when we originally learned the Braita. Like Reish Lakish, that the bia and chalitza of the pregnant lady, even though the child doesn't end up making it, means nothing. We should say we go after Rov, and the Rov ladies do have children that make it. So over here we should also be worried that she's going to have a child that's going to make it. If that's the case, one second. If that's the case, so Vlad ain't poter ad she'yatzeh avir olam. The Vlad isn't poter until he comes out into the world. So that's how Reish Lakish is going to explain the Braita. So Amar Rabbi Elazar, if Shar, okay, we'll try to finish the Amud in a few minutes. Amar Rabbi Elazar, if Shar ita lehad Reish Lakish v'lotlan la b'madnitin. He says, is it possible that we have this teaching of Reish Lakish? Reish Lakish gives a psak and we don't have it in the Mishnah, meaning there has to be some Mishnah that supports this psak of Reish Lakish.
Wait, you got lost downstairs. Welcome to the party.
So he said, is it possible? So Rabbi Elazar says, is it possible that Reish Lakish gave this psak and there's no Mishnah to support it? It must be there's a Mishnah to support it. So nafak dak v'ashkach. So he looked, and he found the following Mishnah. Ditnan. So you have a lady that she and her husband will both. You have a lady that her husband and her co-wife, meaning Reuven has two wives. Wife number one, he leaves at home. He goes on vacation with wife number two overseas to Medinat Hayam. And they come and they tell her, Meid Baalech, your husband died. So there's witnesses that her husband died, so she no longer is attached to the husband. Now, still, she cannot do yibum and she cannot marry anyone else. Why? Maybe the other wife, the husband's other wife that went on vacation with him, maybe she was pregnant. So she has to wait to find out, to make sure she wasn't pregnant. So bishlama yivumi lo, it makes sense that she cannot do yibum. Shema yevlad ben kayama. Maybe that other wife who's pregnant is going to have a child who's a ben kayama, who's going to be a living child. Ve'ifga b'isur eshetach deoraita. And we're worried that if she's with her husband's brother, that's going to be an isur deoraita, isur karet of eshetach. El lo tachlot amai. Why can't she do chalitza though? Let her do chalitza. So bishlama tachlot betoch tet v'tinase betoch tet. If she does chalitza within 9 months and then gets married to somebody within those 9 months also, lo, that she can't do. Why? Hainu safek, because that's the safek. Maybe the lady is pregnant, and if she's pregnant,
9 months.
Yeah, she can't get married during that time. So Ella tachlot betoch tisha v'tinase la'achar tisha. So why can't she get chalitza within 9 months? Meaning she finds out this is the punchline. This is the proof that we're saying to Reish Lakish, right? Again, Reish Lakish holds that chalitza during pregnancy means nothing. Okay, if a guy does chalitza to a lady while she's pregnant, even though she ends up losing the baby and she requires chalitza, but that chalitza done during pregnancy means nothing. That's the opinion of Reish Lakish. So the Gemara is suggesting that this Mishnah, the Gemara found the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, in this case where you have a lady who her husband and his other wife, they go traveling and the husband dies, so she has to wait to make sure that the other wife is not pregnant. Now, the Gemara is asking, well, why can't she get chalitza now, do chalitza now, and get married after 9 months, right? She could do chalitza now, and get married later. Why can't she do that? It must be that the chalitza that's done during the 9-month period is not a good chalitza, because maybe it's chalitza during the time of pregnancy, because maybe the other wife is pregnant, and that type of chalitza doesn't work. So that's a proof to Reish Lakish that type of chalitza doesn't work. So the Gemara says, no, not so fast. U'ta'amech tachlotz v'tinaseh la'achar tet. We also didn't mention that she could get chalitza and get married after 9 months, and that everyone agrees for sure should be fine. What's the problem? If she waits 9 months and gets a chalitza, so either the baby made it and she doesn't even need chalitza, or maybe the baby died, maybe she wasn't even pregnant, and she requires chalitza. Either way, if she gets chalitza, she's free to go. What's the problem with that? So Ella bar minal mai. Rather, you can't bring any proof from that Mishnah. Why? The Abaye bar Abba v'Rav Chanina bar Rav Chanina bar Abaye damri tarvayhu. They both say Abaye bar Abba and Rav Chanina bar Abaye. They both say Shemi hevlad ben kayama. Maybe the child is going to be a living child. V'nimtza ata matzricha kruz l'keunan. What's going to happen? This lady she got chalitza. Now, what happens if they find out that she didn't need the chalitza all along, because the husband's child was a living child, so she never did. So they're gonna think that she's pisula kehuna because she got chalitza. Really, she's not. Now she has a shidduch with a kohen. She wants to marry.
She could marry with a kohen.
Yeah, now they set her up with a kohen. She wants to marry a kohen. They have to make announcements. By the way, this chalitza that she got, it didn't count. They're gonna have to go make announcements. So the Gemara says, okay, litzrecha, let them make announcements. Who cares? So the Gemara says, no. Maybe there's some people that they were there during the chalitza ceremony. You know, it's a big deal. Everybody likes to come around to see what's going on and how it's done. So everybody was there at the chalitza ceremony, but they're not there when they called the meeting to notify everybody that she could really marry a kohen and this chalitza was unnecessary. And those people who were there to hear that she's a chalutza, but they were not there to hear that the chalitza was unnecessary, they're going to think that, they allowed a chalutza to marry a kohen. So, either way, Amar le Abaye comes and says, either way, he says to Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Elazar was the one who said, I have a proof for Reish Lakish, from this Mishnah. So Abaye said, you don't have a proof. Your whole diuk of the Mishnah is not even a good diuk. Why? Amar le Abaye, midi lo tachlotz v'lo tityoyim katani. It never says in the Mishnah that she can't get chalitza. It says in the Mishnah she cannot marry anyone and she cannot do yibum. You assumed it means she can't get chalitza and marry someone. No, it means she can't marry anyone and she can't do yibum. Right. It doesn't say anything about chalitza. So lo tinaseh v'lo tityabem katani, but lo chalitza. Aval yichalitz la hachanam d'sharia. Could be that if she gets chalitza, it would be muteret for her to get married. So you have no diuk from that Mishnah. Either way, we'll end with this line. It says Tanya Kavate Deresh Lakish. We have a braita that says Mefurash like Reish Lakish. So after a whole, daf, a whole daf of back and forth between Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish, proving one way or the other, questions, answers, all boils down to this one line braita. It says Hacholetz lemeuberet vehipila. Somebody who did chalitza to a lady who was pregnant, vehipila, and she lost the baby. Sricha chalitza min ha'achin. She requires a new chalitza. That's like Reish Lakish, that chalitza of meuberet is not a good chalitza. The chalitza done to a pregnant lady is not a good chalitza. Okay, so we'll stop here.
Did you have any life story about the